Hello everybody and welcome back to the Leeds Lens. In this video, it's going to be a bit of a transfer roundup. Where are Leeds United currently at within the transfer market? What current position we're still looking at, and which individuals are we still looking at? Because there's been some massive updates this morning. There's been an update from Beren Cross regarding Noah Okafor of AC Milan. Obviously, we saw him against Leeds a few weeks ago last weekend in the pre-season friendly. We've also got an update regarding James Justin, something I think that's getting quite close, actually. I've got a good feeling around James Justin. I do think would be a good option, but we'll get onto that as well. There's also an update regarding Bilal El Khannouss. His release clause does expire tonight. So yeah, of that £29 million, of course we thought it was 24.5, but then it got updated to £29 million. So update there. There's also updates around Manor Solomon as well. I think that one is starting to rumble and potentially will rumble a bit more. And finally, there's an update from Adam Pope regarding a Panathinaikos striker, Fotis Ioannidis, who actually was linked to Leicester last summer. So there's a few different rumours going on anyway this morning. Before we get into the video, of course, if you could help the channel by dropping a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, massively helps the channel and massively boosts in the algorithm for potentially other people who like this sort of content as well. But yeah, let's start with the Noah Okafor link, because this was, as I said, announced by Beren Cross this morning in an article. There's been no official approach yet for Noah Okafor, so it is Link FC again. I think what's going on with these links, to be perfectly honest, is that we have been rejected quite a few times this window, and I think what Leeds United are starting to do now, and I think we've been doing all window, because I think Leeds United predicted this might happen, is basically we're going to these players. We're interested in you. Are you interested in us? Before we actually make an official approach. So it's basically just like teasing them, saying, "Look, would this is something you'd actually be interested in?" Because obviously, there's no point chasing that down if it's never going to actually happen in the first place. I think that's what Leeds United are doing. They're almost just poking players, going, "Look, we're interested in you. Do you actually want to come?" And then we'll start arranging a deal from that. And I think that's what's going on with Noah Okafor as well. In terms of Okafor as a player, obviously he's been at AC Milan, transferred from Salzburg setup. That's where he was. Another RB player. I know we've got not the greatest experience with them, of course. The likes of Voba and even Aronson at the moment, etc. We've not had the best track record. However, there is some obviously good players that come out of the Red Bull group, the likes of Erling Haaland, etc. The list does go on. But what I will say about Noah Okafor, he's a sort of striker. I think that's where he sort of spent most of his time at Salzburg. But actually, since in the last few years, he's sort of adopted into that left wing role a lot more. He's very direct, and because of that, he's still got them striker instinct. I think a lot of the time he's sort of coming on that left hand side, cutting inside, and trying to get a shot away. And obviously, that is one thing that is his game as such. He actually nearly ended up going to Leipzig as well, back into the RB group in January, but a loan move collapsed there as well. But yeah, in terms of some of the stats around and about Noah Okafor, he's the 97th percentile for successful dribbles. This guy's a really good dribbler, but he dribbles in like a weird way. He's quite a powerful dribbler. He's very fast. That is the sort of way he dribbles. I think in terms of sort of relations to our wingers at the moment, I think you've got more Nonto, who's more like almost like a silky dribbler and sort of glides through. Noah Okafor isn't that as much. He's more, as I said, a powerful runner, almost more like Dan James, except I think he's best on the left-hand side, being able to cut inside and, yeah, use them sort of striker instincts where he actually started out and sort of get shots away. I think that's the sort of wing it we'll be getting, which might be quite a nice balance, actually, with James being a more, at times, hopefully this season, a bit more of a creative winger, and we know Nonto's a creative winger. Ramazani a bit more sort of, he's a bit more in the Okafor sort of calibre in terms of he's someone who's he's not a creator as such, he's someone who's trying to actually create chances for other people. But I think when you've got Calvert up front, it's going to be an interesting dynamic if we bought Okafor on the left-hand side, how them two are going to link up, because, as I said, Okafor is more a player that's selfish, he wants to get shots off himself. As opposed to a sort of like a Nonto winger, for example, who's much more of a creative machine. So as a striker that needs service, which obviously Calvert-Lewin does need, and needs aerial service, which we talked about obviously in yesterday's video, that's going to be interesting how them link. But yeah, as I said, he's also, but in terms of his stats, yeah, 97th percentile for successful dribbler, so a really good dribbler. 100th percentile, so maximum for touches in the box, is the guy that wants to get involved, gets a lot of touches, as I said, inside the penalty area. He's also in the 84th percentile for shots per 90 at 2.81. So, as I said, he's a guy that plays off left-hand side but wants to get shots away. As I said, that sort of goal-scoring winger as opposed to the creative winger as such. And he's also, as I said, in the 95th percentile for shots on target. So when he does shoot, actually, it's quite accurate a lot of the time. So that is something to bear in mind with Okafor in terms of a profile, which I think will be quite interesting. In terms of an injury record, there's not... He has had injuries over the last sort of few years or so. However, unlike sort of what I mentioned with Calvert-Lewin, where he had that obvious hamstring injury that just kept occurring, he hasn't really got a lot of reoccurring injuries. A lot of them, I think there was a bit of muscular issues there, but a lot of them are different sorts of injuries throughout. There's no common injury throughout, which is, I think, is a really good sign when you're looking at injury path. Yes, players can be injured. Tomorrow, one could play and you could get smashed and you could end up breaking your leg. That doesn't make you injury prone. That just means that hard tackles happened. Or like we talked about with Calvert-Lewin the other day, he broke his cheekbone. Just because you break your cheekbone doesn't mean that you're always going to be injured with a cheekbone injury. It's the likes of the hamstrings and, as I said, mainly the muscle injuries that are the ones to look out for. But he hasn't really got a massively concerning injury record in that sense. But yeah, in terms of a tactical fit, as I said, because he's not a creative winger, my only sort of worry around Okafor is how he'll actually work. Because he's not a player, as I said, that's going to give lots and lots of service to Calvert-Lewin up front. He's much more sort of, if you look at sort of a winger before, potentially almost like a Rashford, where, as I said, playing on the left-hand side, trying to cut inside and shoot, because, as I said, he was actually a striker, almost like Rashford was. That is the sort of profile we're looking at here. So is that the sort of profile Leeds United want? Potentially, hence we're looking at him. But that is something to bear in mind. Overall, for me, do I think this is going to happen? I think it might do. As I said, I've got my scale, as you can see, on your right-hand side, my left-hand side. And I've got him at a 3 out of 5 at the moment. I think there's a really good chance. I think there's a decent chance to happen. I've got that around 60%. Obviously, as you can see, Calvert-Lewin 5, because that, I'm pretty sure, unless he gets, obviously, it fails his medical, that is going to happen. Justin as well, we'll get onto now as a 4. So there is some new updates on that, on the signing scale. But yeah, as overall, Okafor, quite like him. I think it might happen. And yeah, overall, not particularly opposed to the signing either. Then the next signing, of course, is another story from Beren Cross, of course, of The Athletic, talking about James Justin. Obviously, he didn't play last night either against Huddersfield, which usually is a telltale sign, although we know last year with Jorginho Rutter, of course, he did play, I believe, against Middlesbrough. Came on, didn't it? And then obviously he was sold to Brighton that night. So that can happen. But for the most part, it usually players get left out of teams if they are obviously going to be leaving. So I think that was interesting that he was left out. In terms of James Justin, really like this one. For exactly what we need in terms of a versatile fullback, he's absolutely spot on. This is a guy who's played 99 games in the Premier League, can play left back, can play right back, has even played in the back 3 before as well, and even going forward's pretty good. He is a really, really solid option and absolutely perfect, because you're not going to find a lot of people who've played that many games in the Premier League who are able to do it at left back and at right back, because he's spread it out. It's not just being a right back or a left back. And he also does pop up a goal. I think he scored 2 against Arsenal last year at the Emirates. So yeah, I do actually really like this addition. To be honest, I think it's absolutely perfect for what we need, and especially at the price point as well of around reportedly around about the 6 million mark. I think this seems realistic to me. And I do think this is one actually that Leeds United will get over the line, which is why, as I said, in the scale, I've currently got an 80% chance of happening. I think, as I said, I think this is a really, really, really strong transfer for Leeds United. As I said, around the 6 million price point as well. I think that's a fee that Leeds United would like. I think that would work for Leeds United. I think this is a goer. My only concern with this transfer, if it doesn't go ahead, is if another club comes in, like an Everton could come in for him, and that could obviously sort of scupper the move. But for the most part, yeah, really, really like this edition of James Justin. Perfectly fits what we're looking for. Really good backup to Goodmanson at left back. Really good backup to Bogle at right back, and potentially, I think, a good enough right back to push Bogle as well. So yeah, really good addition. Hopefully it's over the line, and I think it actually will. So yeah, that's the update regarding James Justin. Now the dreaded one, El Khannouss. Oh, El Khannouss, this has been going on and on and on. And I think the situation with El Khannouss is obvious. I think he will come to Leeds. We've heard in the Leicester Live that they've mentioned he'll come to Leeds. We've heard in the YEP that he's seriously interested in coming to Leeds. I think the question, if he will come or not, is that he will. The other question is, how long will he wait? Because I think what it is with El Khannouss right now is that, yes, Leeds United are there and are an opportunity for El Khannouss, but he's exploring other options, and there is, on paper, probably better options for him there. As I said in the video at the start, like a few days ago, I do think that obviously if I was El Khannouss, I'd sign for Leeds in a heartbeat. But if you're El Khannouss, who isn't a Leeds United fan, when you've got Spurs rumoured around you, when you've potentially got Palace rumours, who I do think he would go to above us. They're obviously in the Conference League, as we know, just won the Community Shield as well, probably in a better phase of the club right now than Leeds United are in. He's obviously already been in a relegation battle last season. Does he want to play in a better team this year? I think we will be better than Leicester, of course. I hope we are, because otherwise we're definitely down, because they got 25 points. But as I said, if you're El Khannouss, we know Leipzig are there as well. I just think we know West Ham as well have been snooping. Like, as I said, I think this one is essentially, I think El Khannouss will come to Leeds, but I just think he's stalling to see if he can get a better option first. My honest opinion around how this is going to go is that I just don't think he's going to end up coming. I think eventually a better offer will come in for El Khannouss that he deems a better offer. Not that we deem a better offer. Obviously, as Leeds fans, we're biased. We think he should come to Leeds. We think we're the greatest club in the world. But as I said, in terms of El Khannouss, he won't think that, and he'll obviously deem Spurs a better option. He'll deem, I think, Palace a better option. I think he'll deem West Ham a better option as well. People won't like to hear this, but I think that is otherwise. If he didn't do it, I think he'd have already signed, because I think Leeds would trigger El Khannouss's release clause in a heartbeat. I think the reason it hasn't been the reason we haven't triggered it is because, like I mentioned with Okafor, we're poking around going, El Khannouss, would you come? If we did, and then I think his camp have basically said back to Leeds United, I would expect, look, I will come, but I want to explore my options elsewhere first. And if I can't get a better option, yes, I'll come to Leeds. I'd rather go to Leeds and stay at Leicester, but I'd rather wait for other options. Because as I said, we know every agents are so important in football now. We know they're massive, driving factors of where players are going to go. And his agent will be saying in his ear, look, don't sign for Leeds yet. Wait on it. They'll still be there. And then see if you can get a Spurs or a European club. That could be a better option for you. So yeah, I think it's going to be a waiting game. But obviously, the main thing with El Khannouss is that reportedly his release clause of not 24.5 million, but of 29 million does, of course, expire tonight. So that is something to bear in mind. In terms of what I actually think about El Khannouss, I really like the sign. I think it'd be a fantastic sign. I think it's a statement signing. I think it's exactly what we need. I will bang this drum for as long until we sign one. We need number 10. As much as we need a striker, we need number 10. We do not have a linchpin. We're not creating enough chances, in my opinion. I looked back at the shots that we've had in recent games. I think we had 9 against AC Milan, which is our best, and then we had 5 against Villarreal, I believe, and 4 against Man United. We're not taking enough shots at the moment, and the reason we're not getting enough shots is we're not getting enough in good positions to take shots, and the reason we're not doing that is because we don't have enough creation in the team. I don't mind the midfield 3 of, say, Tanaka, Ampadu and Stack, for example, if we're going to the Emirates. But if we're playing Everton at home, I would like to see a bit more, someone with a bit more flair in that midfield. Tanaka offers really decent flair at times, and obviously he's the one of all of them, really, that can probably see that pass and sort of has that next level quality to be able to pick out a pass. I'm not saying Stack isn't doing that, but Stack's not number 10. And I think that's what we need. I think we need a creative number 10, especially for games like Everton at home, for games like Forest at home. These teams I think we can actually beat at home, but we've got to have a spark that unlocks someone to unlock the code, really. And obviously I think El Khannouss will be absolutely perfect for that. Also, as well, I think he'd have a really good relationship with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think that would be really nice. I think they'd link up really well. So I love the sign of El Khannouss. I'm obsessed with El Khannouss. If I'm being totally honest, I think he'd be the statement signing of all signs we've made. But my honest feeling is that he'll probably end up getting a better offer, and I think we might miss out on him, annoyingly. So yeah, that is the situation at the moment regarding El Khannouss. Moving on then to Manor Solomon. Obviously, Manor Solomon was at Leeds United last summer. Leeds Live have reported this morning that Fark would welcome back Manor Solomon at Leeds United. I am getting a bit worried about this now, to be honest. I'm in the camp, to be honest, that I don't really want Solomon. I don't think he's quite the right option for Leeds United. I don't think, like when I talk about El Khannouss in terms of being that next calibre, for me, Solomon's not that. I think Solomon's good, really, really outstandingly good at championship level. I think as an option potentially on loan could be a decent mover, because obviously that's something to bear in mind with Leeds. We've still got them 2 loan spots to take up. I think on loan potentially, but if he's going to be a statement winger to help Leeds United stay in the Premier League, I don't think Leeds United will be staying in the Premier League. As I said, I just don't think he's quite good enough. I think he's good. He's okay. but he's not going to progress Leeds to that next level, which we need to do, and that next level quality for me to keep us in the league. Yes, he was outstanding at Championship level, but yeah, for me, he's not quite that one. But having said all that, I do think this is getting more and more likely. There's also been reports as well on Solomon from the Spurs end, from the Standard, Dom Smith of the Standard, saying that Solomon has offers, obviously from La Liga, as we know from the Romano tweet of the day, has offers in the Premier League. He would favour a move to Leeds United, which doesn't surprise me actually, because obviously he had such a great time at Elland Road last season. But as I said, for me, I'm getting a bit concerned about this because I'm in the camp to be honest, I don't really want Solomon. And I do think it's progressing now. I think the only thing holding this deal up currently and stopping this deal occurring is the Leeds United board. I think the Leeds United board, the likes of Adam Underwood, etc., I think they are holding up this deal. I think they don't. I don't think they see Solomon as a sort of game changer for Leeds United and someone that's going to progress Leeds United to that next level. And I think that's why they're not pulling the trigger on this. But I think the longer the window goes on, I think the more chance this has of happening. So yeah, that is the situation I feel around Manor Solomon right now. I'm a bit concerned because I don't really want him, and I think we're getting closer and closer to a potential outcome of Solomon coming to Leeds United. So yeah, but yeah, that is the situation on Manor Solomon. Moving on then to Fotis Ioannidis, something like that. Anyway, he's a Greek striker. Adam Pope mentioned in obviously on Twitter this morning that Leeds United have been linked with the 25-year-old striker. He's 6'1". His goal scoring record, if we quickly go through it to give you a bit of context, 6 goals last year, 1 assist in 26 games. In the Greek league's not outstanding, if we're being honest. 20 starts in that, so 6 in 20 starts is not horrific, but for the level that he's obviously playing at in the Greek league, that's slightly concerning. 15 goals, 7 assists in 27 games the year before. That's when he had a pretty standout season. And that's 24 starts. Obviously, I haven't pulled in data from his Europa League qualification, stuff like that. But yeah, that's 24 starts in the 23-24 season. And then 2022-23, he had 7 goals, 2 assists in 36 games, 17 starts. What is interesting about this deal is that I thought Calvert-Lewin would be Leeds United striker. I thought that's where Leeds United were going with it. I thought Leeds United, that was their sort of quote-unquote striker this season. Because then you've got Joel Perrault, you've got Nemecha, you've obviously got Harry Gray as well at 15, and now you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I thought Leeds United will go into the attack with them 3. And that'd be way forward. It looks like the business is not done in the striker role with obviously the sort of the fact that we're looking at Ioannidis. Now this is interesting in terms of I don't think he's the right player. I don't think he's good enough. However, the only way I see this working as a potential possibility is my opinion on Joe Perrault in the Premier League is that he won't work for Leeds United. Perrault, for me, we got away with in the Championship because we dominated every single game so heavily, and we didn't have to rely on his off-the-ball work. For me, his off-the-ball work is pretty awful. If I'm being truthful, I think Perrault off the ball isn't ideal at all. I don't think, and I don't feel like in the Premier League we can afford to carry Joel Perrault like we could afford to carry him in the Championship. And people won't like that because obviously he was top scorer, got 19 goals last year, top scorer in the Championship as well. That's all brilliant, and he's a really good finisher as Joel Perrault, but it's his off the ball work for me that just will not work. It's also even on the ball, like when the ball, as I mentioned yesterday about Calvert-Lewin, where he brings others into play, where if Bogle gets trapped at Arsenal away from a press and he can go long and Calvert-Lewin can bring others into play, Perrault can't do that. He'll get absolutely swallowed up by centre-halves, in my opinion, in the Premier League. I think Joel Perrault is going to be the best option if we're playing Burnley at home. It's the 70th minute, it's 0-0, you bring him on, he might get you a goal. I think that's where Perrault's going to be his best and going to be useful for Leeds United. But overall, I don't think he fits the profile that we're looking for in a striker to make it work next year. I really don't think it's going to work. So, is there a potential that you can move Joel Perrault on this summer and then bring in someone like a Fotis Ioannidis? Potentially, that could be an option for Leeds United, and maybe that's why we're looking at him. I can't see, maybe we are going to do this, but I think it will be quite mad for one striker position to have four first-team strikers. And with the amount of money that Calvert-Lewin's on, it seems surprising to me that we're going to have another one as well, because you don't usually have backups in the Premier League for a club where Leeds United are based on $100,000 a week. That's something you do if you're in the top 6, have your second choice striker on $100,000 a week, not someone who's hoping to stay in the league. that would be a surprise in terms of a wage structure, in my opinion, to have Calvert-Lewin on the money that he is with another one there. I don't think that works in terms of where you'd allocate budget to wage. So I don't think this is going to happen. I think it would only happen for me if we did look at moving Joe Pro on. I know there's been a lot of talk in the fan base, as I said, that Calvert-Lewin will be a backup. I just can't see it, as I said, with the wages that'll be on. But maybe I'm wrong. And if he is a backup, that's fantastic. That's really good depth. And I take back basically everything I said in yesterday's video about him not being quite the right signing. I was going on the sort of the belief that he was going to be sort of, as I said, our starting striker, which I still think he will be. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure on this one. In terms of what he's good at, Ioannidis, to give a bit of a sort of profile of him, he's a really good dribbler. He ranks really highly for his dribbling in the Greek league. He's also really quite competitive in duels as well. Standing at 6'1", you'd imagine he is, but he is really competitive in duels. He's also a really good presser of the ball as well. It ranks really highly. I think he was in the 78th percentile for possession gained or possession won in the final third. So again, that would suggest he's a fantastic presser of the ball. His goal record isn't fantastic. As I said, I just don't. For me, I don't think this is a goer. I don't think we're going to go there. I think the only way this works is I think he probably fits the system better than a Joel Pro in terms of an actual what he is and what profile he is. So if you are going to move on a Joel Pro, and this is a fan theory from me, I don't think this is going to happen. But if you were to move a Joel Pro on, bringing in someone like an Ioannidis, I've butchered his name, but you get the idea. Bringing someone like him in, I think, would potentially work. But yeah, that is today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave it a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Massive up to the channel, boost it in the algorithms, and also lets other people who might like this content as well consume it. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will catch you all on the next one, everybody. Bye for now. Bye for now.